David O'Donohoe.
And I'm Sean O'Donohoe. So we had a great-grandfather that came over from Ireland in 1890, came to Galveston.
1890s was a tremendous growth for Galveston Island. I mean, all kind of businesses. That's where a lot of our millionaires became millionaires during that period of time. And that's when the storm, of course, hit that, you know, it kept Galveston from being the Wall Street of the West. I mean, it just, my mother's side of the family, they lived waterfront. It was basically, there was no seawall, and they had almost a front row seat, a front row house, which all my relatives on that side were in law enforcement, in the sheriff's department or the PD, and they got moved to safety, but you know, somewhere downtown but on the
and that waterfront area was like 15th, 18th.
It would be like 4 blocks
P&R.
out. It would be like 4 blocks out in the Gulf of Mexico right now. You know, where the seawall, where their house was like 4 blocks out in the Gulf. And,
yeah, so if you take that 1871 map and you lay it over like a Google map, you'll see the streets on that map are out in the Gulf, right? So that when they put the seawall in, it cut off some of those streets.
And that was a positive side of what, you know, of what we think about the 1900 storm, was that we didn't lose, even though they lived right there on the sand in a little house that, you know, was completely demolished, but nobody was lost in that family on my mother's side, my mother's parents. But on the other hand, as far as the on my grandfather's side, his bride-to-be, who was 17 years old at the time of the 1900 storm, they lived in a 2-story house that was on like 35th and P, 31st and 5th and P. And the story there, which is a tragedy, was that we don't know who else was in the house with them, but they, when the water came in, started rising to the first floor, then they had to go upstairs to the second floor, and then the water rose up to the second floor, and then they got up into the attic of the house, and then the water started rising up, and it started coming into the attic, and my great grandmother took her daughter, who was like 17, and then her youngest child, and she said there was a big oak tree that was next to the house, and there was a window that they could get out, and she said, "Follow me." And my great-grandmother took the younger sister of my grandmother and jumped to the tree that was next door on the side. By that time, the water started receding. It didn't go any further, so my grandmother did not take that. You got to remember, you can imagine with 150, 60 mile an hour winds, and jumped out to this tree and with this 2 or 3 year old baby, and then the next day when it would all survive, when it subsided, all they found was where my great grandmother's arm, where she had jumped out and she had grabbed over the branch and held on with that baby, and then something severed her arm. That's the only thing they found of her was her arm still clenched to that limb. Clean up, but they all stayed. And it's strange. My grandmother, that where she her mother and her little sister were lost by jumping out the window. She ended up marrying my grandpa O'Donohoe. She was like 18 then. This is at 1900, after the 1900 storm. My grandfather married my grandmother Lily, and they had 12 children, 10 boys and 2 girls. The resilience of the people of Galveston kept us a city. And here we are, what, the 3rd or 4th largest, 2nd or 3rd largest port for cruise ships now. You know,
Galveston strong.
Yeah.
Galveston strong.
That's right.
Before the breakthrough, before the recovery, there's a moment when science meets humanity, driving excellence through discovery, collaboration, and care that changes lives.
You'll be okay, sir. At UTMB Health, Advancing the health sciences is more than our mission. It's our promise to every student, every patient, and the world.
The University of Texas Medical Branch, caring for our community.